Everyone, welcome to this podcast. We're going to get Carson coming on a little bit later, but right now we got me, Jack, and Luke.
Yep, that's me.
So just us right now. The one thing that I really want to talk about, I know that you're a big Patriots guy. Josh Gordon has been reinstated.
Mm-hmm.
Luke, what are your thoughts on that, man?
Well, it actually it's an interesting situation because I think obviously Gordon is an established talent. Aside from the off the field issues that have been keeping him off the field. I do also, before I go into what my main point, I do also want to say I've talked to people that are like, oh man, he's just going to be suspended again. Who in some way, shape, or form within the next year. I truly do believe, like with the Patriots being the way they are, with the change that I've seen in him, like in his instant everything. I do believe this is it. Like I think he's done with like going back to the old crap, and I do believe that. I just want to say that because it obviously applies hugely. But anyway, back to the other stuff though. It's an interesting situation.
Can I just take a second to actually talk about that? Because you made a really good point with the
Yeah,
whole like drug testing stuff, because that's like the biggest problem that we have with him. It's because he's so unreliable just with being able to play
yeah,
consistently. And I think also you got to keep in mind that like, Massachusetts, this shit's legal there. You know what I mean? Like
I know.
that's just another thing that you gotta keep in mind, especially if you're talking like fantasy football or even just talking football in general.
I
Like this
agree.
this is crazy, just with watching like this
I know.
guy into a spot where he's just so surrounded, I'm sure, all the time with this and just having to fight against it, which has got to be super tough. But again, if he can't do it, he's not gonna be on the field.
I do think though, like I've watched him like over his career. I think this is the most change you see in the guy. Like, and I do believe in. And I think if there's one organization that can switch a player around like that, it's New England. So, but what else? Oh, yeah. But I really think it's interesting where they're going at the receiver position because obviously we've always said like, or at least the past couple of years we've talked about like Brady's targets not being very capable outside of Edelman and Gronk wasn't even himself, and now Gronk's gone. So now you look at the roster and you're kind of looking for guys to step up. They lost Chris Hogan. They have Edelman now. And for fantasy owners, from a fantasy perspective, having Edelman will be huge now, even more than it was before. But I think there's a lot, and this is like for fantasy perspective, like late round guys you could look at, or just in general watching this team in the future. There are a lot of guys that could emerge or will emerge in this offense. You got N'Keal Harry, the first round pick from this year, who I think they did it. I think this might be one of Belichick's first swings and hits at the receiver position in the draft. That's one position he struggled at mightily in the draft. Then you go to look at Braxton Berrios. Some people know his name, some people don't. He was drafted as the next Welker / Edelman out of Miami. Didn't play a whole lot last year because they didn't have as much room for him. He was also, I think, banged up last year, but he's apparently tearing it up in camp, from what I've heard. And then another guy that no one expected to be tearing it up, but he caught 2 touchdowns in their last preseason, or maybe they're playing right now, actually, I think. But last game, their first preseason game, caught 2 touchdowns and been tearing it up, is Jacoby Myers. He's an undrafted free agent, and he was actually a quarterback at one point. But they're just like there's a plethora of these guys that are really young, or like a guy like Jacoby Myers who's young, but you also haven't even heard his name until now. So it's a really interesting situation because they are trying to find that number 2 guy, number 3 guy to play along Edelman, and I think that those 3 names are guys that guys have to look at for late round picks, especially now. To your point though, the Gordon impact. That's where I was going with this was where now how does this all fit with Josh Gordon back? So is Josh Gordon gonna be the 2? Do they like N'Keal Harry enough where he's gonna be the 2? It's gonna be a really cool and interesting way to see how they're gonna play with their targets. But I do think that all those guys are gonna get looks at some point in the future,
Here's
including Gordon.
here's my piece on Gordon coming back in regards to the depth chart and everything. Like, first of all, I'm not expecting him to just like start off and be a starter, but aren't like a decent amount of the Patriots like banged up right now, like a little injury and
Yeah.
like problems. So like all of those receivers are there, and Josh Gordon is clearly the most talented, probably knows the playbook the best out of all of them, considering he
Yeah.
like
No, for
played
sure.
and knew everything. So it's looking like he can pick up just where he left off. And
I think he could be even more impactful too, to your point, because and like I said, it's gonna be interesting how they use him because all 4 or 5 of those guys are different like skill sets for the most part. There's some of them have similarities, but I think it'll be really interesting to see how quickly Gordon gets involved and just how they're gonna use him. Are they gonna use him as a deep threat because Edelman's more the coming across the middle, short guy? Are they gonna lob it up to him like they did a couple times last year? Like it's an interesting situation to see who kind of takes leadership, like of the situation. And Gordon could easily, to your point, he already has the advantages. He could easily be, inserted in that 2 spot like no tomorrow. So it's interesting.
I mean, he could even get the 1 spot if Edelman isn't ready to go.
Yeah, if Edelman's banged up, Edelman's really not even like a one receiver in terms of the fact that he doesn't get one type of routes. Like when you talk about number one, you're talking about guys that like streak down the field, can get you a jump ball. Edelman's like he really is like a slot receiver turned wide receiver one kind of. It's one of those things you don't see a whole lot. But,
Very, very true.
so I was reading some stuff on the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. I know we've talked about Lamar a lot, but I don't know. Like I'm trying to figure out like where do you see him in terms of like value, like especially fantasy too, because you're only getting half the volume when he runs a lot, and I understand rushing yards is even bigger. But like the guy can't throw the ball that well still. I mean, who knows? He might prove us wrong this year, and I hope he does because he's an electrifying player. But I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think he has really any fantasy value until he starts getting like some just nuts games. Because think about it this way: he needs 100 rushing yards and a touchdown just to stay competitive with all the other quarterbacks, and that doesn't happen every day. And if they're trying to run the ball as much as they did before, and they're so like the thing about the Ravens offense last year is it was so focused on just kind of like their team in general was just run the ball, drown the hell out of the clock, get the defense out there, have them mess them up, keep running the ball, just beat them down, and they don't yield very high scoring games, which is a problem for when you look at it for like any type of fantasy player ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something you want to really deal with. You're not getting as many stats, not getting as many points. So I really want to stay away from the Ravens just in general, except if they're running backs, like maybe Mark Ingram, maybe Gus Edwards, depending on that type of stuff. But when it comes to Lamar, like absolutely not. I'm not going to be drafting him anytime soon just because I don't think that he's going to be providing any more value unless if we start to see him throw the ball. But if we start to see him throw the ball, then yeah, this guy's got RG3, 2012 type value.
Mm-hmm. My thing is the same thing as you. Like I think he has to be able to throw the ball in order for us to consider him an elite talent. But I also think too, and I've thought about this a lot. Your opinion on guys change and evolve a lot. Like not you, I'm saying, but like anybody. And people don't put enough value on preseason, but I've watched I've been watching the young guys, the guys that maybe struggled last year, to see what's going to happen this year. And I think I talked about on here before, not being super confident, but I've changed my mind. Like I'm Sam Darnold. I feel pretty good about him. I think he's gonna. I'm not confident in the Jets receiving core. I'm not a big Robbie Anderson fan. I'm not a big Quincy. I can't say his last name. Well, Inunua or whatever. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of either of them. But I from watching Darnold, he just looks a lot smoother. Looks like he has a better handle of the offense. I think he could be a big factor. He could be the 2017 Carson Wentz, I think, personally.
So I'm gonna shift it a little bit, but what does that say about Le'Veon Bell?
I think it's.
It's obviously good
I think it helps, doesn't hurt.
Yeah, but do you think that he's going to be able to return to the, same level that he was at if Darnold is able to step up?
I've kind of been in I've had trouble with thinking about this. Yeah, I think so. I think Bell's still young enough where he can take over. And also too, Bell's one of those guys that he is literally just like having another receiver out there when he's not running the ball. So I mean, I think the sky's the roof for him. Man, when you miss a year of football, man, it changes a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't know. You're not taking hits.
I'm not too big on Le'Veon, to be completely honest, just in general. Like, I know that he's still one of the most talented backs in the league, blah, 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 blah. Numbers, numbers, numbers. You can flash in my face all I want. But, again, you made a good point. Hasn't played in – you can't just sit a year out in this league. That's not something that you can – I feel like it's got to catch up to him, right? Like, at least a little bit. I mean, I'm sure he worked out and did all this stuff, but – switching from not only taking a year off, but going to a substantially worse team who's not even a contender right now, that's not a switch that I like for somebody. That's a huge red flag no matter who it is.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. It'll be one of the storylines for sure. That and all the other ones that we all know about already. So
and Antonio Brown might not even play.
Yeah.
Which is just him being a big baby. Like
I think he said that he's coming out and he's gonna play regardless of the helmet.
Yeah, that was just stupid, just in general, to even make a deal.
I agree though to an extent, but with his argument, I think some of the changes they made were bad. But I don't know. Yeah, it was dumb.
I didn't look at the argument. I just think it's dumb in general to say that. Because no one else is having a problem with this, right? Like, no one else is really upset about it.
Other guys don't like it. Like, Brady just had to change his helmet. Someone else did, too. I can't remember who it was. But people didn't like it, but they weren't threatening to retire over it. It's like...
No, that's just the dumbest thing.
I'm calling it out right now, and this is early. This is an early hot take.
We got a hot take.
I might get toasted by it. And you know what? I'd be happy to get toasted because I hope for the guy's sake that it's not true. Because that's why if I have a hot take that's against someone, I hope I'm wrong because I don't like watching people fail. But I think Kyler Murray is not going to reach at all what people think he's going to. Like, he might bust. I'm 70% sure he's going to bust.
Kyler Murray a bust.
I'm 70 to 80%. I've watched him in these preseason games, man. It's just, I know it's preseason, but normally guys, if you feel like Mitch, remember, obviously we're Bears fan. We watched Mitch in the preseason and we were like, damn, yeah, like we like that. You know what I mean? Like, I know he was playing the 2s and the 3s and everything like that. Oh, Carson, welcome.
Oh, thank God. Carson, Luke just dropped a hot take. Fill him in.
I was saying, I'm not 100% because I don't want to bash the guy and it's still early, but I'm like 70 to 80% Kyler Murray can bust or will bust. I mean,
Kyler Murray will bust. You're already calling that?
70 to 80% sure. That's why I said it's hot take and it's too early to say 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That was a hell of a introduction to come into.
Yeah, I mean,
mainly been covering.
We talked a little bit about Le'Veon, a little bit about AB, then Josh Gordon's reinstatement. And now we're here, and
man, all of the
talk about this. I really want to talk about this,
dude. I think I don't know. I mean, like I was just telling Jack, I know preseason doesn't mean jack, which it really doesn't. Doesn't mean jack shit. But I will say this: normally in a preseason, if you find belief in a guy, he's usually, if you have a guy that you believe in, like if he is what you say he is, he normally like manages his own a little bit in the preseason. Like he shows flashes. Like for example, I'll use Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins he had a horrible stat line the first game through 2 picks, but there were also some flashes where you're like, oh damn, like he can get the ball downfield. Then the next game he didn't throw any picks. He did only go 50%, but he got the ball downfield, looked good out there. And then Daniel Jones, everybody hated on him. And granted, I know it's preseason, but give the guy credit. He's been tearing it up against both teams he's played. And then KYLER, for example, the other night, he played Oakland, who's trash, and I think he went 3 for 8 and took like 3 or 4 sacks in the amount of time he was in there. And one of them was a safety where he ran back into the end zone to take the safety. I mean, and then the first game, I know his stat line, he went like
6 for 7.
5 for 6 or something. I think he did pretty. Yeah, he threw
45 yards.
He had but like all those little routes, and I'm fine with that because I do believe in like the dink and donk passes and getting downfield slowly, and even like getting
you do, Mr. Tom Brady.
Yeah, even getting guys, especially young careers, that's how you get guys' confidence up, just getting completions.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, the stuff that he was able to get away with in college, I was watching the other night, like I don't see it. Like there's times where like I watched him in college, obviously. I watched him in some of the big games, and where you'd take off and then, you'd be like, holy crap, like look how fast he got out there, and then like gain like 30 yards. And I was watching him run the other night, and it's like these guys are ready to hit him. I mean, like they are ready to come and clean his clock. And I don't know. It's very early. I was telling Jack too.
Yeah, it's just too early for me to make a decision.
I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, no, it's like I said, I'm not 100% sold on my decision to say it yet. That's why I'm saying like 70 to 80%, but I'm leaning that way. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely heavily leaning that way. Thus far.
One thing coming in that I just have been kind of thinking about over the course of the last 2 weeks, with all the stuff happening at the running back position across the league, the whole value for the fantasy football drafts around the world has totally changed with all of the running backs holding out.
I know.
And everything.
It's
weird. It's crazy, dude. And now especially my Aaron Jones being a number 1 running back thing doesn't sound so crazy, huh?
No, it doesn't. I mean, when you have, it's a really odd ball situation when all of them are holding out at like the same time.
Yeah, dude, it's unreal.
The NFL though too is just the coaches are starting to realize that we don't need one dominant back. We can have a few good ones and win games with that. Like I don't know. It's starting to go in a direction of running back by committee, and not that I think you're better off. Personally, I think you're better off having 2 running backs, 1 stud, and then 1 guy can handle the third down plays, or that's just I'm kind of old school in that way, but a lot of these guys' careers can go longer, committeeing it instead too. So I don't know. It's a weird direction to be in, but when you're committeeing, why would you pay a guy $15 million a year?
Let's talk about Dak Prescott.
$40 million he wants. That's insane. I'm sorry.
Unreal, dude. Absolutely unreal.
I've come on here before and have said like, I've said how iffy I feel about Dak, and whether you like Dak or not, he does not deserve 40 freaking million.
He doesn't even deserve 30, man.
Yeah,
I would
he
have ran with
rejected
that
30.
offer. I would have ran with that offer.
He rejected 30 million, and he didn't even deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he rejected 30 and is seeking 40.
If they don't pay Zeke first, I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah, dude. It's because Dak thinks he's better than Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz got like mid-30s. I don't give a fuck, man. Like,
Carson Wentz is better, but he gets hurt more.
I don't think neither of them deserve that much money.
No,
I don't think either of them have deserved it so far. Carson Wentz
Wentz stayed healthy though, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just see, that's what I'm saying though, is people talk about how other quarterbacks like Andrew Luck and Rodgers and all these guys are super soft, but they're at least people that have proved it. And I mean, they deal with, pretty serious injuries. You can't help tearing and breaking bones and shit. So I don't know. Just the fact that Carson Wentz has only been in the league for 2 years is a little bit of a red flag to me.
And got injured so much?
What's up?
Yeah.
and gotten injured so much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I think he's got to prove it a little bit more. That's why I was shocked that he got the $35 million deal when he did.
People like
Especially with all the most guaranteed money, because I think Carson Wentz now has the most guaranteed money in the NFL.
Wow.
Everybody's going for the guarantees now.
Oh yeah, well, because that's what the NBA and the MLB has been all about. So now
Yeah.
NFL players are trying to change that.
They're saying that the NFL is preparing for a lockout. I hope they're wrong.
I hope they're wrong. I mean, I do agree though with players, especially NFL players, getting their guaranteed money. I mean, I don't know why their safety wouldn't be
Yeah.
given to them, especially with all the fucking physicality and pain that they have to go through.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, you could, be a stud, sign a huge ass deal, get hurt week 2, and get cut, and see like not even a quarter of it.
It's just funny because had Dak not gotten Amari Cooper, the whole
I know it would be a completely different situation.
Like he would be begging for like 25 million.
Yeah, it was. I don't know, man.
But now he gets Amari Cooper. He plays a few nice games, and then they're like, "Oh, we got."
I mean, just look at the splits when even Ezekiel Elliott isn't on the field for Dak Prescott.
Oh, I know. It's completely different. I agree.
Like I think Zeke is the most important player on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they need to fucking sign him.
I know. I don't know why. I don't know what the whole deal is there. I don't know. I know Zeke has had his little blemishes or whatever outside of.
Yeah, he's done
some
field, but like still, he's still the guy that you're gonna get, and he doesn't get.
Say you sign Zeke. Who do you
every time you've had Zeke on the field, he's produced.
Do you sign Amari or Dak first if you sign Zeke?
I go Zeke, Dak, and Amari in that order.
Yeah, I agree with Carson.
Just because you need a quarterback.
I'd agree with that too. Quarterbacks are harder to find than receivers.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, Amari probably brought out the best that we have seen in Dak, but I mean, Zeke is the main focus there.
I actually I don't mind everybody if people listen to what I said about Dak before, they probably think I hate on Dak. I actually don't mind Dak. I actually kind of like him. I just don't like how greedy he is for the talent he is. You get what I mean?
Well, and so early on in your career, don't you want to build a resume, and get some of the stats and help build a good team around you?
That's what I'm saying, man. That's the difference between him and all the guys that take pay cuts, like Breeze and Brady. Those guys win because they take the pay cuts, and I just can't believe that Dak won. And doesn't Dak realistic? Does he have that big of an ego where he doesn't realize that he needs it? He's a quarterback that needs a team around him. He's not an Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man.
They've been blowing smoke up his butt since his rookie freaking year when all of a sudden he was playing somewhat decent because he had Zeke and Tony Romo was hurt.
His rookie year was his best year, in my opinion.
Yeah, he hasn't had a season like his rookie year. Exactly.
Him and Zeke were literally unstoppable. Even in that game that Green Bay won that year in the playoffs against them, they really didn't stop him. It was just kind of Green Bay had the ball last.
Well, yeah, it was just Rodgers. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's what was
my
whole point. Is
37-34 or something like that.
Yeah, but that's my point. Is they literally once they got going together, they couldn't be stopped. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I obviously hate the Cowboys, but I was thinking they were gonna be a very high Super Bowl contender this year, but I have no clue anymore.
Yeah,
bullshit.
Dude, it depends on who the hell plays.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, and that's across the whole league.
Yeah, I'm so surprised by the amount of guys that are either A, kind of tweaked and injured a little bit, or B, you don't even know if he's gonna play week 1. He's just
Yeah, and then there's Tariq Hill who beats his child and gets not suspended for any time at all.
I know. That pissed me off. And then
and then we get the random Josh Gordon news today.
Yeah,
bro, this offseason has been, it's not it's the other thing is too, there's been more entertaining off seasons. It's a weird off season. It's odd. It's not there's been off season where there've been better signings and stuff like that. But this was just completely whack in the amount of time with the headlines coming out. oh, I'm retiring over a helmet. Like, even though, like, I agree with the helmet argument to an extent, like, you're retiring over your helmet. Or, like, I don't know. It's just, like, it's crazy. The amount of running backs sitting out. Like,
Bills, too, if you want to remember that. Like, AB got traded to the Bills. Then he was like, nah. They got traded to Oakland.
Yeah.
OBJ just got shipped off randomly. And we're just all kind of like, what just happened? Like, there's just been some really weird stuff. Like you said, like the helmets, the people holding out. Melvin Gordon thinking that he deserves Todd Gurley type money.
I think Melvin Gordon's really good, but, like, he's also 30.
Well,
He's-
yeah,
he's
he's an old ass running back, and I mean he's already been beat down. So
Yeah, that's my point. You can't, like, I don't know. Some of these guys have to just, like, kind of look in the mirror and be like, I'm gonna take what I can get while I can.
well, exactly.
he's missing out on like the last couple years of his prime. So
Realistically, yeah, like, yes.
he
like,
actually is.
He does not. His prime's not much longer. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know how else to put it, and like, I can't put it any nicer.
Well, I don't think any running back even deserves what Todd Gurley got in the first place.
And Todd
Gurley also scares me too.
Well, yeah,
Todd
I mean,
Gurley
I don't think Todd
Also
Gurley's
scares
a
me.
guy.
I
would
think
draft
that
in my
knee is a
first
big
round.
deal, dude.
It is.
I
It
think-
really is.
Because everybody's downplaying it because they don't think it's like super legitimate or whatever. But, like, I'm telling you right now, that knee is worse than people think it is.
I'm not touching Todd Gurley anywhere in the first or second round.
No, same. I mean, I'm even hesitant in the third round just because I think there's a lot of guys that can put up the same amount of production. And again, are they going to try to save Todd Gurley as much as possible for the postseason?
Yeah, that might happen too.
It's going to be interesting. Fantasy's going to kind of be all over the place.
Oh, bro,
What makes
I'm
it-
so nervous about all my team. Well, I'm not worried about Dynasty because it's like that's set in stone, and
Yeah.
most of my guys are like pretty much like for my Dynasty team, like pretty much, are gonna play or aren't banged up. So I'm all right with that compared to other people. What I'm screwed with is like I have no idea what to do for the standard leagues draft. I've no idea like what to do with with certain players. Like that's another thing. Do you pick Zeke in the first round? Do you even know if he's gonna play? Do you pick Melvin Gordon within the first 2 or 3 rounds? It's like, what is going on?
I'm taking Aaron Jones before I take Melvin Gordon and Todd Gurley.
Wow.
But you're
I would say Melvin Gordon, yeah, but not Todd Gurley, I think.
I think it's more serious, and I don't think he's going to get nearly the amount of touches or even snaps.
Dude, I feel bad though for him because he literally could have been. He still could be. I mean, who knows? Maybe we're overreacting, but he literally could have been like one of the best, like running.
Oh
back.
yeah, I thought he was when everyone was saying Zeke and saying Le'Veon, I was saying Todd Gurley because even his one down year, quote unquote, it was just because they were stacking the box against him in Jared Goff's rookie year.
Yeah, which Goff has obviously improved drastically too.
Well, yeah, and that was when they still had Jeff Fisher as the coach, and he thought he could just run at 75% of the snaps in the modern NFL.
Jeff Fisher.
Good old Jeff Fisher, gotta love him.
Mr. 8 and 8.
Actually played for the 85 Bears.
Mr. 8 and 8.
He is Mr. 8 and 8. That's so funny. That.
So how was vacation, Luke? I saw you were all over the place.
Oh, it was great. I went to Italy. Oh, dude, that was another thing too. So being in Italy and Switzerland, you don't like when you're overseas, you don't get to see your phone. You don't look at your phone as much. So like, I can see the headlines until I get back in like the room, and it would just be like there was so much NFL crap and like all sports, but like NFL too, where I was just like, what the hell just happened in the past like hour? I was out for an hour and like all this stuff happened, or like because of the time change, I wake up in the morning, I'm just like, what the hell just happened? Like this is effed.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do us for this podcast. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, and check out all of our other stuff. Check out the other podcasts, and we'll see you next week.